Hi, my name is Rebecca Rose. I'm the CEO of Studeo, and welcome to my video series. This is all about different kinds of issues, sales, marketing for real estate. After over a decade of experience working with top producers, I've gotten a pretty good idea of the trends, the things that work, things that don't work. In this video segment, we're going to talk about commission objection, what's being called right now the commission crunch. And I'm going to explain really what it's all about. But at the end of the day, this affects everybody's bottom line. It feels like to everybody that the objection around commission has been increasing lately. Some of it is due to the NAR settlement that happened last summer in 2024. This is actually a problem that agents have been facing for a very, very long time. And the reason why it happens, it's not unique to real estate or agents, but at the end of the day, a commission objection is a price objection. So what we're going to do in this segment is we're going to break it down. We're going to understand why price objections happen, how do we understand it better, and how can we fight back so that we actually earn what we deserve. So let's dive into it. The reason why a commission objection happens, or a price objection, is really comes down to two fundamental things. One is they're not quite understanding how the value that you're bringing is actually worth more than the price you're charging. And the second is that they're comparing you to alternatives. And so in order to fight back on these two things, we're going to have to understand them a little bit better. It's quite possible that more sellers are questioning commissions because of what happened last summer in 2024 with the NAR settlement. That's definitely having an impact. But there's other things that have been happening in the marketplace that have been also influencing this. One is an increase in competition just across the board. We've seen that over the last decade. Competition in markets just keep increasing. The other thing that is affecting this is technological change and innovation and new business models. And so consumers and sellers have more options now. They have more choices. There are more ways in which somebody can sell their home than just the traditional way that happened for decades prior. And so this is a real issue that everyone faces, but price objection is what every company faces. It's what every business faces. And to tackle it, you really need to understand what's really going on. And there's really two core components to price objection. Number one, the seller or the person that you're trying to sell to, your services to, are just really not understanding how what you're offering is worth more than the price that they're paying. And one of the first rules that I learned in business school is when you're setting price, business is ultimately, at the end of the day, an exchange of value. And so if you really want to be successful in business, you always need to offer more value than the money that somebody's giving you in return. If you always exceed, even by a little bit, the value of the cost of them giving up that money, you'll get yes every time. But a lot of that has to do with perception. The second is when you're faced with competitors or alternatives, you're always going to be scrutinized for the value that you're bringing in comparison to the value of these alternatives. Those two things are really important to understand because then you can address the objections head on and ultimately walk away with the price that you deserve. So let's do an exercise together. The first is an exercise in differentiation. It's ultimately really understanding what makes you different, what are you really good at, and really where is your value? Because if you can't answer that for yourself, that's really where agents get stuck. And so they go into that listing presentation, they're up against that commission objection, and then they don't have anything to say back. They can't justify the value that they're bringing. And at the end of the day, part of the problem with any kind of service model, any kind of service-based business, and real estate is a really good example of that, is that it's not tangible. It's really hard to describe up front the value that you're bringing because it's not a product. It's not something that you can hand over. And when everybody seems like they're offering the same service, it's really hard for sellers to understand, well, what makes one agent different from another. So this exercise is really about understanding your difference and being able to clearly articulate that. One way to actually analyze your business and understand where you fit in the marketplace is sit down in a spreadsheet. And in that spreadsheet, in all the columns, list off all your competitors and alternatives. And an alternative can be anything from no agent at all, could be open door, where it's a completely different business model. It could be you've got, you're up against somebody's sister or next door neighbor who's somebody that they know, but you know that you are bringing more value than somebody who's barely done any listings and have very little experience. And bring in your top competitors, people who, have significant market share, and you want to up your game and you want to gain market share in your market. So create that spreadsheet, lay out all the different entities and people that you're up against. And then down the side, you want to list off all of the different kinds of services that sellers get from anyone servicing them to sell their property, including ones that you do, but also what others do as well. What are all the possible things that they get from that relationship? So it could be things around expertise. Perhaps you have expertise in a particular demographic or stage of life or particular community. That's really important. Is it just pure experience that you come with 20 years of experience and you've been there and seen it all, where possibly some of the other people that you're up against aren't in that position? Maybe a point of difference is the segment of the market. Maybe you're really excellent in luxury because you've got an extensive network of high net worth individuals and you bring that value to the equation. All of those different things create a point of differentiation for you and is valuable. The other things to list are also what happens if they have no agent at all? What are all the things that a seller would have to do on their own? All the stressors, all the time investment, all the work involved that they would have to do on their own, all the expenses they would incur, and also the risk. What is the risk that they are up against if they're not properly represented, either having no agent at all or not having the right agent represent them? What is the risk that they have in terms of selling that property, in terms of speed and their timing, but also the value? And are they not going to get top dollar? Write all of those things down. And what you want to do is then you want to create a check mark in that intersection between you and your competitors across the spreadsheet. And that helps you identify what makes you different against all these different alternatives. That's really important because you really want to draw that out. You want to highlight that so that you really understand and you're clear, because the clearer you are, the better you can articulate that value to your seller. Now, if you're starting to see when you're doing this exercise that maybe you don't have many points of value, that you haven't really done the work yet to getting really specialized in a community or a demographic or a stage of life, maybe it's worth sitting down and doing some self-reflection, going, how can I get that expertise? Where do I want to focus? Maybe you don't have that shown yet in your portfolio, but it is something that you inherently have as an individual. Perhaps you've gone through that exact experience yourself. And having that personal experience, perhaps going through a divorce or raising a young family or downsizing after retirement, bringing your own personal experience to your business is really important because it will help people connect and relate to you, and they'll feel that you understand their situation. There are also other ways in which you can create differentiation. One is through innovation and creating strategic difference in the way in which you approach selling somebody's property. One example is, and this is a lot that we offer at Studeo, is being able to help agents differentiate themselves through a strategy of storytelling, being able to explain to a seller that I can actually up the value and shorten the timeline on selling your home because I can tell the right story. And I know how to market your property in the right way to the right distribution channels that's going to get the right eyeballs on it and enough people falling in love with your property in order to make a difference. Whatever it is that you can do that's different, that's what you want to articulate and create a list. Create a list of all the things that you do really well that sets you apart from all the alternatives. Once you have that, make sure that you understand your own story. It also might change how you view who you're targeting. You might realize that you're really good at helping people who are getting divorced. And you might realize, you know what? I can build a business on that. And that actually will help drive your marketing communications. Because the closer you can get to articulating really what makes you special, somebody's going to see the value in having a specialist help them, especially when they're in a very particular type of situation. They want somebody who's going to understand the nuances of that situation. And so once you get that, once you can articulate that, it actually will start making you target who you're going after more clearly. It will change how you do your branding. It changes how you talk about yourself. It will change how you communicate what you do on your website and on your social feeds. Make sure that you've got the right arsenal of marketing communication tools in order to help you tell that story. That's really, really important. And so at the end of the day, if you're faced with a price objection, what you really need to do is really get really clear on articulating your value proposition, your point of differentiation, the reason why they're hiring you, and the risks attached to not hiring you. And that is the value that you're bringing, and that is worth the price tag that comes along with your service. If you aren't clear on that, that's where the seller has leverage to get you to drop your price or to choose a different agent who is able to articulate that. So I'd be excited to hear from you. If you like this, please give me a like on the video, on the channel, follow the channel. There'll be a new video posted every week.